to do here at Hallway Feeds. So I'm Anthony Cook. You've seen me plenty on these videos discussing various and sundry topics. And we're joined today by Eileen Phethean. Eileen is with Kentucky Equine Research, where she is the Chief Operating Officer. Hello, Eileen. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Anthony. Thanks for having me today.
Fantastic. Hey, we had planned on doing this outside, but Eileen and I both came up with the same reaction, if you will. We both went outside looking for a pretty spot because it's a gorgeous, sunshiny day, and the wind's blowing about 20 miles an hour, and you wouldn't have heard a word either one of us said. So we found a non-messy spot in our respective houses that we weren't afraid to show off during all this quarantine time inside. So glad you found a good spot like I was here. So Eileen, let's get right to it. You're not from Kentucky, right? How did you wind up at Kentucky Equine Research? Where did you come from? What's your equine background as well?
That's kind of a long story. I grew up outside of Tampa, Florida, and my mom was a riding instructor, and I grew up on a horse, on a pony from the time I was let loose on my babysitter at about 2 years old, and grew up fox hunting. And then our hunt started a pony club, and we got into doing pony club. And as part of that, one year we came to the Kentucky Horse Park for the United States Pony Club National Championships and Festival. And I think I was a junior in high school then and looking for colleges. And of course, if anyone has been to Lexington, Kentucky, the last exit before the exit for the horse park is for Paris Pike, and it also says University of Kentucky. And I said, oh, they have a university here. I need to look at that. And so I did an animal science degree at the University of Kentucky and loved my 4 years here. This was just like home for me, and had plans to go to vet school and ended up changing those plans and deciding that after living a life on a horse farm, I understood that horses were 24/7 and thought I might like to plan for things a little bit more and have a more reasonable job that would allow me to ride. And how does that work out? Apparently I'm a workaholic, and between the hours that I push myself to keep and my travel, I don't get to ride as much as I should. But that has been definitely an upside of this quarantine and working from home, is that I get to see my horse a lot more, and he may not be too happy with the fact that he's being ridden more often, but we're making a lot more progress than my one ride every now and then used to yield. So
well, good. You're not the first one that made a trip up here to the horse park or to central Kentucky to the races, to the farms or a training center, and then decided, actually, this is home. I don't need to go back to Florida or wherever it was they came from. There have been plenty that peeked in here and said, nope, this is it for sure. So glad you made it. And that's only been a couple years ago, right?
Yeah. I think I started at Kentucky Equine Research. I graduated in 2000 and traveled and did go back to Florida, and then decided to come back to Kentucky and ended up at Kentucky Equine Research because I had used a lot of their reference library research in order to do a senior paper and presentation, and it was just luck that they were hiring for an assistant for Dr. Pagan in 2002, and next month that'll be 18 years. So I've been a part of the KER family for more than half of its lifetime currently.
Which was something we have a little bit in common, not necessarily the half of the lifetime you at KER and myself at Hallway Feeds, but I started at Hallway Feeds just a few months after you began at KER back in 2002. Right. But you did not start as Chief Operating Officer. So what's that transition been from 2002 to 2020? How has your role changed over those years?
Well, I started as I said, Dr. Pagan, who's the president and founder of Kentucky Equine Research. I started as his assistant and sort of learned on the job and was responsible for receptionist duties and special projects and conferences and pretty much anything he came up with, making sure it happened. And that just sort of grew from assistant's role to coordinating our entire technical division to dealing more and more with the business management aspects of it. And then KER also has a division in Australia, and it grew to trying to connect those two businesses to keep the flow of information between our offices and the strategy more consistent between them, and make sure that our clients in Australasia also gain the benefit of the research that is being done here in Kentucky and now also in Florida.
There, you led into my next question. Okay. You mentioned the research library earlier. You mentioned some of these technical services. What does KER mean to Hallway Feeds? What is it that you provide? What, based on you're a piece of what makes Hallway Feeds different, what is that piece that you provide?
Well, for me, and I'm actually a Hallway Feeds customer too, and I've obviously been, as you know, very closely associated with Hallway and our support there. It's so many things from KER's research from the very beginning into understanding the horse's nutritional needs and the role that nutrition plays in not only breeding horses and growing horses and the performance horse, but also in us understanding and helping our partners like Hallway implement the advances that we find to help keep these horses healthier, happier, and performing better. A lot of the stuff that we're doing that Hallway has been the best at implementing and really adopting our innovations is the different things we've done to try and, I think, reduce the risks and the challenges that we introduce to the horse from our management and from what we ask them to do as performance horses, from using GrowTrack and utilizing that equine growth management software to help your clients to manage their horse's growth so that they can achieve a sales-ready yearling, perhaps, but also to minimize the risk of developmental disease so that when that yearling gets to the sale, it has the best chance of being a sound athlete as it begins its racing career. And then developing feeds like Relieve and the Edge products that take advantage of alternate energy sources to help keep horses performing that have some unique energy needs and some challenges due to some genetic difficulties.
So let's talk about the research in Kentucky Equine Research. Beautiful home place right here in Kentucky over in Versailles that has grown quite a bit. In fact, was not where you were located originally when you started with the company. And now they have the research farm that has grown and houses all the Kentucky offices. And then talk to us about the other location. What's the and down in Florida? What's the research that's maybe you can't tell us what's going on right now, but what's been some of the research of late, and what have you been doing at both locations?
Well, yes, we've got the research farm here in Versailles, and we're lucky enough that has been instrumental in so much of our early research. We have a high-speed treadmill there, and indirect calorimetry system, the ability to do exercise physiology research and really look at a picture of what is going on inside the horse throughout an exercise bout, as well as to perform digestibility trials to evaluate either what a horse's requirement for a nutrient may be or the value of a particular ingredient in supplying that nutrient. The difference between the Kentucky operation and Florida, we got really interested in racing. Our owner, Dr. Pagan, has his own stable of racehorses, and as we got more and more into training racehorses, realized that while we can replicate the exercise bouts similar to a racehorse's breeze on our treadmill and go similar speeds, we can't actually put them in the same type of an environment, and a treadmill is not a track. There's external stresses that they experience just from their life and from training. And so we decided that we needed a practical field research center so that we could actually do research on racehorses in training, and do some other research that's perhaps dependent on climate. We're talking about doing some things with some electrolytes, and there's, if you've ever been in Florida or certainly in the hot and humid South, anhydrosis is a big issue down there. Most of our research at the center in Florida has been certainly around performance, and we're starting to sort of separate what research is going on in each facility and do more of the digestibility research and other nutritionally focused research in Kentucky, and more of the high performance oxidative stress, energy generation type work in Florida. And so recently we've been looking at ways in which we can feed the horse or supplement the horse to improve their recovery from exercise and minimize the effects of oxidative stress.
Absolutely. Very, very important. So if you've been paying attention throughout this about 10 minutes we've been talking now, Eileen has mentioned so many different areas that KER has presented research and we have put into our different feeds and feed programs, from gestating mares to lactating mares to young growing horses to race horses, and then everything on the sport horse end of things, the anhydrosis, the electrolyte imbalances and replenishing that, powering sport horses, whether it be the professional or the non-professionals, trail riding on the weekends or getting out when you can. Kind of like Eileen, she hadn't seen her horses except in the dark until she has to work from home here this last 5 weeks or so. So we really appreciate all the research that KER does and provides and helps us. And it's not just the research either. You heard her talking about the digestibility. So it's also which ingredients to use and which sources of those ingredients are the correct ones to use. So it really is amazing. How many years now, Eileen, for KER?
KER was formed in 1988, so 32 years.
It's amazing just the volume of research that's been done by KER, and then not just the sheer quantity, but the quality of it and how much it is relied upon in Kentucky, across the U.S., around the world. You heard her mention the Australasia offices that they have. So we appreciate you, Eileen, and your, let's see, what will it be? 18 years here in a little bit with KER.
Yep.
And we appreciate KER and the work they do. So I hope everybody enjoyed learning a little bit more about Kentucky Equine Research, who they are and what they do, a little bit about Eileen as well. If you have any questions for us, as always, send them in to us, info@hallwayfeeds.com. Give us a call at the mill, 859-255-7602. If you've never seen a horse running on a high-speed treadmill when you're standing right next to him, you must check it out. And while you can't go and visit right now, look up Mike Rowe on Dirty Jobs. Just the other night, Eileen, I think they've been looking for stuff to put on TV, and they replayed Mike Rowe Dirty Jobs out at KER. Still fantastic. I wonder if anybody's created the drink, the skid mark, yet, or if that's still just in Mike's imagination. Because that was a pretty special episode, I think.
Yeah, that was a great one. It's good for a laugh. And Catherine Whitehouse, who he seems very tickled with her accent, we're happy to still have her working for KER as well. She graduated from an intern to managing our research farm and is now one of our nutrition advisors. So we like to keep the good ones around.
Yeah, she got tested that day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Eileen, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoyed this this Facebook Live episode. And again, if you got any questions, send them to us at info@hallwayfeeds.com. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, Eileen.
Thanks, Anthony. You too.
Bye.